The people of Mexico are multicultural. 62% are mestizo, a mixture of Spanish and Amerindian. 21% are indigenous, of which there are at least 70 distinctive groups, and 10% are white. 93% of the population speak Spanish. 6% speak one of the 68 indigenous languages, the most common being Nahuatl, from the Aztec, Maya, and Mixtec. Their music, clothes, foods, handicrafts, dance, rituals, literature, holidays, sports, and celebrations all combine to create one of the richest and most vibrant cultures in the world. From early in its history, the people of Mexico loved colors, bright, prominent, scorching colors. The textiles of the indigenous people today vibrate with this long-held taste. They flash, they spin, they strike the eye with vivacity. These decorative flares reflect all that is beautiful in their universe. Women in the indigenous communities commonly wear huipiles, a loose tunic that can be hip-length, knee-length, or floor-length. They are usually white or cream-colored and exquisitely embroidered in brilliant floral patterns. The design displayed on the apparel symbolizes the indigenous group to which they belong. Not to be entirely outdone, the men also love radiant colors and often wear woven bright blankets called serapes. The wardrobes of the folk dancers of Mexico, the Ballet Folklorico, are striking with their dazzling colors, glamour, and appeal. Their dances are carefully selected to represent all parts of Mexico, from the pre-Columbian to the Columbian eras, and from the far northern states like Chihuahua and Sonora to the deep southern ones like Chiapas and the Yucatan. The choice of costumes adds grace and elegance to the performance. The dresses of the women are wide and flowing. The skirts use yards and yards of brightly colored material that the dancers can hold out like butterfly wings, or that can create large concentric circles as they revolve swiftly to the music. The performances are extraordinarily wonderful. The exciting music, the vibrant colors, the graceful movements combine to create an unforgettable visual feast. Holidays in Mexico present another means of displaying vivid colors. The Day of the Dead is a 3-day holiday in which the survivors celebrate their dead ancestors. Women's dresses usually imitate that of the well-known La Catrina, the prototypical woman of the Day of the Dead. She has a skeletal face, but wears clothes with ruffles and flowers that could come from a 19th century Jane Austen novel. It is customary to build very colorful altars at home or by the grave of the loved one. The family decorates the altar and supplies it with the favorite foods and beverages of the ancestor, a special bright yellow flower called Aztec marigold, skulls made of sugar or clay, and family photographs. Brilliant tissue paper in shimmering colors also adds to the altar's ornamentation. On this special day, the family sits around the altar and celebrates the deceased with wonderful, heartfelt stories, vignettes, or poems. They eat, picnic, and may even sleep by the grave. There are parades, dances, music, and laughter, especially when the participants recall funny stories about the dead person. This is not a sad holiday. It is the welcoming back of the deceased and a reliving of the great love that still exists for them. It is a holiday that suggests that life does not end at death but continues eternally. It is also protected by UNESCO and the Mexican government as an intangible cultural heritage. To really perceive the heart of the Mexican people, you must experience the joy of the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe. If you are driving around Mexico any time close to December 12th, you will find the roads crowded with gaily decorated trucks, cars, motorcycles, bikes, and pedestrians carrying pictures and gifts to their beloved saint. More than 2 million will come to celebrate her birthday and the miracle of her earthly appearances. Our Lady of Guadalupe is the patroness of Mexico. She is adored as the ultimate symbol of motherhood, goodness, justice, love, and compassion. Unlike so many other European saints in the Catholic hierarchy, she is a dark-skinned native who speaks Nahuatl. Most cultures do not have an icon so universally loved, doted upon, revered, and admired. She is a binding force, a national symbol of hope and peace that transcends classes, political parties, and ethnic backgrounds. She is every man's mother. While 83% of the Mexican population is Catholic, close to 100% are fervently impassioned with this saint. Her holiday on December 12th is partly somber, culminating in a midnight mass, partly arduous as pilgrims perform painful acts of contrition, such as crawling many miles along the pavement to show their appreciation for her goodness. But it is also extremely joyful, packed with native dancers in their vibrant ceremonial clothes and bright colors with which the pilgrims adorn themselves and their vehicles. Inside and out, people serenade Our Lady with the traditional Mexican birthday song, Las Mañanitas.
Estas son las mañanitas que cantaba el rey David. A las muchachas bonitas se las cantamos así. Despierta, mi bien, despierta.
Long before this was the site of the Basilica of Our Lady of Guadalupe, it was an equally holy site for the Aztecs, a shrine for the well-loved goddess Tonantzin, the mother of the gods. It was not a hard transition to replace Tonantzin with a remarkably similar icon. At the Feast of Our Lady of Guadalupe, the party begins early. Pilgrims show up many days before December 12th and set up tents to stay through the festival. This is the lady's birthday, and also the day in 1531 that she appeared to the poor, brown-skinned Nahuatl-speaking man Juan Diego and instructed him to tell the archbishop that she wanted a church built right on the spot at which she was appearing. Juan hurried to report his experience to the skeptical archbishop. He then returned to the Virgin, but she was still insistent about building a church at this spot. After going back and forth between the Archbishop and the Virgin several times, Juan arrived at the top of Tepeyac Hill in the winter and found a lovely Castilian rosebush in full bloom. These roses were not native to Mexico. The Virgin told Juan to wrap the roses in his cape, his tilma. Juan then returned to the Archbishop. When the Archbishop opened the tilma, the roses fell to his feet and exposed the inner lining of the cape, on which there was a portrait of the Virgin. This painting hangs on the inside of the basilica today. The pilgrims who come for the fiesta line up for endless hours to view this remarkable image. Another colorful cultural ceremony is called La Danza de los Voladores. Its origin is in central Mexico in the state of Veracruz. The legend is that the ancient people suffered from many years of drought because the gods were punishing them. To show their adoration and persuade the gods to end the drought, they developed this very special ritual, La Danza de Voladores, to honor them. This ceremony is filled with symbolism. It is associated with the rain and solar gods, as well as with the spring equinox. Usually there are 5 participants, all of whom climb a 30-meter-high pole to the very top. 4 tie themselves to the pole with rope that they wind around themselves 13 times, and then fling their bodies off into space. They spin 13 times each, or 52 times in all, which is the number of circles on the Aztec calendar. The rotating bodies symbolize a number of natural phenomena: the connection of sky, earth, and the underworld with life on Earth's surface, north, south, east, and west, and earth, air, fire, and water. While all of this is occurring, the 5th person, the caporal, stands on top of the pole and plays the flute, the drums, and sings. He represents the sun. As a spectator, it is absolutely terrifying to see 4 men fling themselves into space from the top of a 30-meter pole. The Valadores dress in flamboyantly exquisite apparel. They wear red pants, a cloth across their chest, a hat with multicolored streamers, and a white shirt. The only piece of apparel that is not heavily embroidered is the shirt. Each part of their apparel is symbolic. The red chest cloth symbolizes blood. The hat is adorned with flowers for fertility, and the multicolored streamers on top are the rainbow. The small mirrors sewn into the cloth represent the sun. Very frequently, the Valadores make their own costumes at significant personal expense. In the past, the Voladores ceremony included cutting a huge tree in the forest, but deforestation has minimized that practice, so today most of the poles are permanent and metal. But the Voladores still fly through the sky like ancient birds. UNESCO has named this practice an intangible cultural heritage. As part of this honor, Mexico must encourage these rituals, safeguard them, and promote them in the country. There is evidence that there were horses in the prehistoric era in Mexico that became extinct in this part of the world. Then the Spanish arrived. In 1519, Cortes brought 16 horses that were so useful that more and more were imported from Spain until horses were quite commonplace in the New World. Because the horses were used militarily, the Spanish forbade indigenous people, except for a very few of high rank, from using them. Then the Mexican economy became dependent upon haciendas, and economic necessity caused the Spanish overlords to change their rules. The haciendas were huge estates owned by the very rich. Some were as big as countries. Hernán Cortés was given land by King Charles V in 1529 that was as large as the entire state of Morelia. Haciendas were mostly rural and agricultural, producing sugar, wheat, fruits, and vegetables, as well as animal products such as meat, wool, and leather. Many raised livestock, and so workers were needed. Workers who could herd the animals, workers who rode horses. Consequently, indigenous people were allowed to ride horses if they were in the employ of a hacienda and their saddle was distinctly different than that used by the Spanish militia. Over time, the native people became great horsemen, and the horse culture became part of Mexican culture. During the Revolution, the people who had been suppressed by the disparity of wealth in the hacienda system burned down and destroyed many haciendas. In 1917, these huge estates were abolished by law. The owners could keep 200 acres and the rest was distributed to farmers. The need for labor continued, and the natives found jobs as horsemen. The charreada, a rodeo-like event, developed and became the national sport of Mexico. And it is also a UNESCO Intangible Cultural Heritage. There are charreadas all over the country. The charreada consists of 9 events for men and 1 for women, all of which involve horses, cattle, or both. These games are extremely popular and define the Mexican culture. The charro, or Mexican cowboy, wears special clothes for the charreada: a big sombrero, small jacket, often very colorfully embroidered with plants or native people, very tight-fitting pants, and leather shoes or boots. Metallic thread is often visibly sewn along the seams. These outfits are solidly aligned with the culture of Mexico. Mariachis wear the same outfits, but they are usually black with silver ornaments. The charro's culture is widespread. It is often represented in the ballet folkloricos throughout Mexico. The lasso dance is a charro favorite. This dance features a charro with a lasso that he wields with almost magical precision. He can wrap it around his female dancing partner or the hooves of a nearby horse. One of the most extremely colorful events in Mexico is Carnival. Carnival is related to all of the carnival festivals in Latin America and in Mardi Gras in New Orleans as well. It is celebrated on the Tuesday before Ash Wednesday and the first day of Lent. Lent is a serious holiday, one designed to remind people of the terrible hardship that Christ suffered in the desert for 40 days. It is a time for repentance, prayer, and denial, of giving up good foods and other personal enjoyments. Carnival is a time of extreme enjoyment, of having as much fun as possible before the dark curtain of Lent falls. The Mexican people who do celebrate Carnival go all out. They often start by burning an effigy of mal humor, bad disposition, and then everyone is free to party night and day. There are parades, floats, bands, dances, hijinks, concerts, and musicians. Everyone wears costumes and stays up all night, raising joy and fun to its highest level. Then comes Ash Wednesday, and all is quiet. Mexico is one of the most interesting, beautiful, and exciting places in the world. You can go there from the U.S. without getting jet lag. There are enough museums, beaches, reefs, national parks, cultural sites, fiestas, cities, and towns to explore in 40 or more trips. The people are welcoming and lovely. It is also inexpensive. But you can only enjoy Mexico, or any place, if you become a traveler and not a tourist. This means that as a tourist, you skim along the surface of society. But as a traveler, you get involved with the people, talk to locals, research the culture, and spend as much time in museums and walking around towns as you do on the beach. The time to visit Mexico is now.